Welcome to the Tuesday Review After Dark Special. Live on 98.9 Northwest FM. Very live. In fact, we're going to start our Twitter Spaces to make it even liver.
Yeah, double live.
Double live. All right,
Very
let's
special episode.
Use our microphone. Allow. So, for listeners at home, we're going live twice on the internet, essentially. All right, so we are live.
Abducting your airwaves.
Spaces. That's abducting your airwaves. We're
Abducting your airwaves and your internet waves.
Yep.
Your Wi-Fi. So if your Wi-Fi's not working, it's not our fault, but we like to think it is. Maybe it's the big man trying to shut us down, so you don't hear the truth. So that's why, again, in the future, we might have the actual X-File soundtrack ready to go on the little pod track.
I know Nathan's got it there.
He's got it on the soundboard. So, you know.
Is it?
It's not playing through.
Maybe
It's set to default speakers.
Very good.
Yeah.
So,
We're learning in the studio today.
Yeah.
For listeners, for some context, we're going live on Saturday night for a very special, spooky,
Top secret.
supernatural, top secret.
Area 51.
Yeah, alien, UFO, all things high strangeness, weirdness. There we go. Yeah. That's what. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't done a bonus episode like this in a long time, and this is the first sort of night episode. No, I don't want that.
Not that one.
Not that song. Yeah. This is our first night episode. We're recording this.
We're expect some bumps because we're playing with new technology that are allowing us to go live on Twitter Spaces, Twitch, YouTube, wherever we're feeling it.
We're testing out some
online functionality.
Yeah, streaming. We've got a camera to stream online and some new recording equipment to hook up to the computer in the studio here. So yeah, we're just seeing how things go and just gonna talk about weird stuff for a while and
see how we go.
Yeah, kick back and chill out and have a grand old time.
A while ago now, a New York Times article was published that talked about a secret government department of sorts, like a program within the government, within the Department of Defense, I believe, whose job it was to investigate strange phenomena seen in American airspace. And that sent a snowball effect. Ross Coulthart, the famous Australian journalist, wrote a book investigating it all, found some breadcrumbs, and then To the Stars Academy. Keep in mind, my timeline's all jumbled.
Yeah. Also, I was going to say contextually, you might have to fill in listeners about some of what this stuff is.
We'll go as we need to. I'm not too bothered with the names of individual programs because there's a lot of contention anyway.
Yeah.
But long story short, a man called Elizondo worked for a program called ATIP, which was a threat identification program for the American Department of Defense. He wrote a book about his experiences in that program, and he makes some shocking revelations. And this is also in line with Ross Coulthart's book, which he wrote investigating this. And a co-worker of Lou Elizondo's, Jay Stratton, I believe, is also releasing a book about his experiences in the program. So there seems to be a new wave of people coming forward, people like David Grush coming forward and trying to get attention on what was once a taboo subject.
We've talked about UFOs on the show before. We had...
Hello to Mum, who's listening now. Mum.
Yeah,
shout out to Cassie Berry.
Mum's sitting there thinking, I knew they were crazy, but not this crazy.
This is only the beginning. We've talked a bit about this stuff before, but because we haven't had a lot of time, a lot of opportunities to do bonus episodes, we haven't really gone off on this kind of sort of bonus discussion, except we did record one that went mysteriously missing. So we're talking about UFOs and conspiracies and all that, and then the file goes missing. It's like something's going on.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a bit to talk about. The short version to bring us up to current, I suppose, is that there's been a thing in the American military, but all over the world. But this episode focuses more on the American people who are talking about it, because that's the context we have. Because Australia, as far as I'm aware, officially denies everything to do with it. We don't officially acknowledge any unidentified craft in our airspace. So it is what it is. Australia says there's nothing to it. It's all baloney. That's fine. America doesn't. America says there is something in the skies. They don't understand what it is. So there was an issue where I don't know how ATIP got started, the Threat Identification Program. To be honest, I didn't read the whole book.
It just came out.
Yeah. But Lou Elizondo was brought into this program, and a part of this program's job was apparently to process reports of like military, or I'm not sure if it was everyone, but I know military reports of situations where like an aircraft carrier would get hassled by an unidentified craft or something of that nature. Any reports where they weren't sure what the craft was, or it was like an issue with like what's the best way to explain it? Strange encounters that weren't easily categorized. It was their job to look into the files, see if they could figure out what was going on, or if there was a potential cause for that, and then write a report on it. And he ended up uncovering quite a few things and hearing a few things from his co-workers and all this type of thing. And so he's currently doing a book tour and writing a book, and not writing a book, talking about his experiences and elaborating on them and all that kind of thing. It's been interesting.
So for context, Lou Elizondo was like a US counterintelligence officer. So he still has his security clearance.
Correct.
So he's not some...
He's not a crackpot.
He's not some random, guy. He actually worked within, secret programs in the government, the US government, and he still retains a security clearance. So they haven't kicked him out. He's not disgraced. They still allow him to know certain things and to talk about certain things. And obviously he had to get what he can and can't say in the book approved by the US government.
Correct. They go through a process called... I'm sorry, were you going to...
No, go on.
When he read the book, and David Grush talked about this as well, and when he was writing his book...
David Grush is another intelligence sort of American officer, like military...
Yeah, except David Grush, I think, was even higher up the food chain. And so David Grush is someone we haven't really talked about on the airwaves.
I think that was the episode that got lost.
Funny.
We talked about... Because he testified in front of Congress about this. So, in the last few years, there's been a lot of... momentum behind what is this, and it's being taken a bit more seriously, not only by the US government but by media, mainstream media is still a bit.
Well, they've had Lou Elizondo's been on CNN and things like that, and that where they used to ridicule people. Now they're it's kind of strange to watch when you see these big time news anchors very earnestly asking him about the spheres we see in the sky. Yeah. And then it's an honest back and forth where no one's being ridiculed, because I think we're coming to a stage with all of these people like David Grush, who was a very, very high officer in the intelligence community, coming out and saying, I've seen things, I've seen documents, I've talked to people who allegedly worked firsthand on these things, and saying it's real. And then the government's official response is, no comment. Yeah. It's famously when people ask Lockheed Martin about the allegations against them, which we'll talk about soon, their remarks are always, we would redirect you to the government. There's no denial. The government's done with the denials. Yeah. It's now just sweeping under the rug as best they can. But my point is that these people, David Grush and Elizondo, does Grush have his security clearance? Because there was some drama about...
There was drama, but I'm pretty sure he still has it.
Oh, good. They still work and operate in the intelligence community, and Elizondo identifies as a patriot.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole issue where people are saying, are you selling out your country by talking about this stuff? What's the appropriate way for us to be having this conversation? Because there's this overarching conversation about like what they call the threat narrative. And should we be drawing attention to this? Is it going to have negative ramifications? But ultimately, his whole Elizondo, I'm not going to speak for anyone, but Elizondo maintains that it's the human race's right to know certain things, regardless of military opinion.
Exactly. Also, because he still has his security clearance, and when you write a book like this, like we said, you have to get it approved. So the things he's allowed to talk about.
That's right. I forgot we were talking about that.
The government's not saying these are true. They're just saying, yes, you can talk about that.
Correct.
So, it's not necessarily the things he's talking about are being confirmed. It's just that more and more people are coming out and are being allowed to talk about things they weren't previously allowed to confirm. And a lot of these stories or these testimonies match up.
Correct.
So it's interesting. Again, it's not really confirming any hard evidence.
Yeah.
But it's still interesting as to why the government is like, okay, you can talk about this UFO, but not this.
Yeah.
And from what we understand, there's a lot of stuff they're not allowed to talk about and not allowed to release to the public that is even more convincing.
Yeah, it's interesting because when Grush went through the DOPSA process, he's made some very big claims, and it's fascinating to see, I can't talk about that. Well, it's like, well, if there's nothing to it, why can't you talk about it?
That's another thing, yeah.
Because it's like a mission of, there's a phrase about it where it's like, if I can't, something's not real, but I'm not allowed to talk about it because you know what I mean? Like, the official line is, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I am legally not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well,
or show us that document. No, why? Oh, there's nothing in it. It's like, but then why can't we just see it?
There's been quite a bit of controversy about FOIA lately because John Greenwald of the Black Vault fame, he requested a FOIA document, I believe, something to do with ATIP or Arrow or one of those organizations. Apologies to any listeners because
I feel like you already need to be aware of this stuff
there's ORSAP, Arrow, and ATIP. Now, depending on who you talk to, one of them might not exist or as a sub branch of the other, or they're interchangeable names for each other. So it's this whole big problem.
And
so a lot of
basically those their government organizations set up to investigate UFOs, UAPs, anomalous phenomenon, and strange occurrences.
Correct. A lot of Lou Elizondo's detractors say that one of them, I think ATIP or whatever, didn't actually exist, so how could he be the director of something which never existed? But then Elizondo would say, actually, it does exist because this memo says it does, but it might be referenced under this name or whatever. I'm not too interested in these minor details about whether a program was called X, Y, or Z, at what time did it turn into Y, H, or B.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I've seen memos which say that Lou's legit. Other people confirmed he's legit. That's good enough for me. He wrote the book. He went through the Pentagon process, the DOPSA process. It's all legit. I'm going to leave the other minor details to other people because I don't really... It's so much bigger a problem. They're like, why should we bog ourselves down in these little minor details? You know what I mean? Like ufology's full of people with a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah, but it's also like when anyone comes out with this kind of evidence, you almost feel like you have to do a deep dive to see. It's like, is this guy legit? What's his motivation?
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, he's written a book and now he's going to make lots of sales and he's going to make lots of money.
Yeah.
But, as an intelligence officer who is sort of putting his career on the line and his personal life out in the public to basically tell people the truth, I'd like to think that he's doing the right thing and that this is real, but...
On the interviews he did, He said, like, I don't know, I can't remember if he said exactly how much money he was making when he was working for the Pentagon, but I've heard he was making like 6 figures over there.
Yeah.
And so when he decided to join up with Tom DeLonge's To the Stars Academy and like go with that thing and write the book and work for the people as opposed to the military or what have you, he took a massive pay cut. It ruined it. It almost ruined his marriage.
Yeah.
He almost lost his family because he went from being able to provide to having to live in a trailer.
Yeah.
So it's like when people say it's oh look, he's just chasing those book sales.
Yeah.
Well, no, he already made a good living doing what he did before.
Yeah, and it's the same with like David Grush, who was good at his job, and as soon as he went public, all of a sudden, everyone wanted a piece of him, and everyone wanted to look into his family life, and so it's not easy for this person to come forward because they can be ruined professionally and in their private lives.
100%.
So who knows? And they might be doing it because for money, but a lot of these don't seem to be, especially when you've got someone who's a former intelligence officer.
And one of the reasons, I mean, if anyone's listening, one of the things I would say about all the arguments people have about the different names of the programs is we're dealing with people who are pretty much only intelligence officers. Nothing against Lou Elizondo, but my trust level for like American intelligence operatives is pretty slim at the best of times.
That's
not because I'm saying anyone's a liar, but it's like the Rick Doty thing. Everyone in intelligence is working an angle.
Yeah.
So everyone else that has an opinion about this, like for example, like there's a gentleman called James Akatsky, I believe, or whatever. They're all saying, "Oh, it wasn't actually this way; it was this way." Everyone has their own angle. So, like, why would I trust? I trust that Lou Elizondo is telling me the truth, but he's also an American patriot who's an intelligence officer.
That's the other thing.
So it wouldn't surprise me if certain dates are being changed if the names are certain.
Yeah.
Who knows what the real...
I think we talked about this one time where it's like, this is just another part of a big disinformation campaign.
It's actually also,
And the people who are coming out and saying, this is true, are actually doing it on the
behest of
their superiors in intelligence communities. But if that's true, then what are they doing that for? What are they trying to hide in that case?
So, if I was going to play the devil's avocado in this situation, do you remember a while ago we used to talk about 2027?
Oh, yeah, that was supposedly the date
coming.
where the aliens are going to reveal themselves.
Yeah. What was that gentleman's name? Ramirez.
Yeah.
The CIA operative Ramirez was, and everyone was talking about this date that the military or government had been made aware of. If that's true, and something was coming and it was out of the government's hands, and again, this is a far out there thing. This is what they call woo-woo stuff, and you had to get that ball rolling to acclimatize the human population to the idea that regardless of what the government wants, things are going to start appearing. Well, you could lay a small groundwork by saying, oh, look, we have an office to investigate the weird stuff you see in the sky.
Yeah.
And then you bring out a book. And then just to balance the scales, you might have another person to say, oh, he's a crackpot. Don't listen to him.
Well, there's also the theory that there are two different schools of thought, two different factions within the U.S. government and within the U.S. intelligence community. One of them is for disclosure and letting the public know what's going on, and the other ones are like, no, don't say anything, this is bad, or this doesn't exist, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the suspected reasons as to why there are some people, from the intelligence community, some people coming out and saying, we have evidence, this is real, and the other ones saying, no, this is all fake, whatever. And we're getting a bit of feedback on our headphone.
Yes.
Okay. We're still playing with the techno. Are we live on the Twitter?
I think we were muted. Did you mute us?
No, I put us down in the control room, I think.
Ah, very good. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm just. Can
no,
you see if we're like
we're
live on the?
we're live on the Twitter, but no one has decided to join us. So I was trying to move us onto Twitch.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
that's all right.
we got
This
that
is
audio
just a,
coming
this is all
through.
just a
Yeah.
test anyway.
You were saying the
What was I saying?
the two different
The two different.
camps.
Yeah, so that's a theory as to why
Yeah.
we're getting all this conflicting information. Of course, that could just be.
Well, again, like if you to go back to the devil's advocate route, having two opposing sides battle it out publicly in the intellectual space is also one way to keep the population from panicking. If you have one person saying it's real and then you have another person say, well, it's lens flare.
Yeah.
Or
Swamp gas.
and that type of thing. It's one way to ensure that you're not overcorrecting by saying, look at all the aliens. Or
Well, that's that's the thing is, they say, a lot of people say, well, if they just came out and gave us all the evidence and said aliens are real, would there be chaos in the streets? Would could people fathom that? What would world religions do? So I understand not doing that. Like Callum was saying, is like over the last few years, there seems to be more and more of this stuff coming out. And is that because there is an effort to slowly make people aware that this is a real thing?
Yeah.
And that eventually they can ease people into it?
What I find so fascinating is that there really is, I think Elizondo might even mention it in his book, is that when he was talking to someone higher up in the chain of command about the problem, and then he said that someone was like, stop looking into it, it's demons. And so you have
that's another thing.
So there's this idea, because the American government is quite a religious institution, not in the literal sense. It's not like a Catholic institution, but
especially the conservative side of politics.
Yeah, they're very
fundamentalist Christian.
Yeah, and so when you think of things in the skies, well, if you're not really a materialist, you're going to look at it from a spiritual lens.
Well, that's the
and they're probably not angels.
Well, yeah, that's part of the whole two factions thing is, there's sort of a hypothesis or whatever that there's some people who are like, this is real and we should be looking into this. And then there's the more spiritual conservative side who are just like, no, this is evil. These are demons. We shouldn't be messing with these kinds of forces. And that's another reason why there's this push-pull, this...
And I remember when we did our last special on this subject, there seems to have been quite a fire under the bottoms of the people who want a disclosure. Because like I said, they seemed to believe that something was going to happen and it was out of their hands. So it's on one hand, they were trying to prepare people as best they could, but then these, I think they called them the Collins elite people, the religious people, were trying to prevent the masses from knowing because they thought it was a kind of demonology. So if we start talking about these demons, and keep in mind, this is the stuff I've read online.
Yeah.
If we keep on talking about them and we acknowledge their presence, it gives them more dominion to kind of come in and actually start doing things where they wouldn't before. It's like a kind of, they can only come with the acknowledgement of the population. Which is, I know, apologies, it sounds bizarre to say, but this is just what, this is what people say when you read their books and you talk to them. And, there are a lot of books about UFOs out there. There's thousands and thousands.
We just like to speculate and
correct.
And if there is something going on, it's really interesting and important.
So one of the things I find fascinating about all this kind of stuff, especially the more interesting stuff, is I don't actually believe in the supernatural. I don't think it's one of those words people throw around, but the supernatural cannot exist. Anything that exists or is perceived in the world has a cause.
What's that?
We just don't understand it. Magic is just a technology, the sufficiently advanced technology.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, let's just say there are aliens and demons or what have you out there.
Yeah.
Well, they're here. They would potentially exist. So therefore, they're governed by laws which we might not understand, but we can learn.
Yeah. So,
and I see no problem in us understanding more about the world we live in.
Yeah. So I think we talked about this on one of our previous specials where it's like ghosts and aliens and demons and angels and cryptids and Bigfoot and like all the supernatural and weird stuff could be part of the same phenomena. Which if we were able to discover and explore that scientifically, we would, and eventually understand it, we would realize that, oh, this isn't supernatural at all. This isn't woo-woo. It's actually just part of our natural universe. It's just something we we don't have the technology to
comprehend even.
Yeah, or as humans, we might not be able to comprehend it on the way we perceive things, or we don't have the technology to measure it yet.
Correct.
So that's interesting because there are a lot of things we haven't explored 90% of the ocean or whatever. There are certain things we haven't discovered yet in the universe. So a lot of the things that we think of as magic or supernatural might just be things we haven't properly discovered yet.
We were talking about this a while ago off air, and it's like the reality is, in 50 years, or in 100 years, they'll our great grandchildren will be saying, "Why are you staring at the saucer, Granddad? Stop."
Yeah, it's just a normal part of life to them.
Yeah, like there will be a time where, if you believe in this stuff and it is real, there will be a time where it becomes mundane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're interested in it speaking from our studio in the dead of night because to us it's fascinating that there are these craft that... So I should actually get to the main point of conversation of our show. Is Lou Elizondo wrote a book called Imminent.
Yeah, we didn't even say the name of the book. It's Imminent Inside the Pentagon's Hunt for UFOs by Louis Elizondo.
Yeah, and he makes two startling claims in the book. Now, apologies to Lou. Like, I didn't read it cover to cover. I'm one of those people who just wants to know what all the juicy details are.
You were reading it though.
Yeah.
It's not like you were just like, but it was just you didn't have time to finish it.
Yeah, but like I want the juicy details. Like I've been following you.
You want the Cliff Notes, yeah.
That's it. And the two big reveals. Hal Puthoff, a famous scientist. If you follow stuff like remote viewing and astral projection, which like we do in the studio, Stanford Research Institute, Hal Puthoff, told Lou Elizondo, Roswell happened. It like factually occurred.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not even... It's one of those things people talk about, like, oh, did it happen? Did it not happen? We all forget that the government wrote a report, like, not a report, it was published in the newspaper the day after, to be like, oh, craft crashed in Roswell. And everyone was like, that's interesting. No one lost their minds. And then there was that big cover-up for some reason.
Yeah, it's... At first, they said...
It happened.
And then, like, a couple of days later, they're like, oh, no, it was just a weather balloon and nothing to see here.
Yeah. So anyway, apparently that happened, but it was two crashes at once or something.
Apparently it was two alien
craft collided,
that collided. One of them crashed and the government recovered it, including the bodies inside, and the other craft managed to escape.
Yeah.
That's
wild.
If that's true, that's crazy.
So what I find interesting is the Doppler process allowed him to talk about that.
Yeah.
So Roswell has always been denied. The so-called reality of Roswell has always been denied. So the government has essentially given up on blocking Roswell.
Yeah, but
which is fascinating.
That's what I was saying is like, are they just saying, oh, you can talk about Roswell now because there's nothing there? Or are they trying to soft disclose and get people ready for the truth? That's the thing. We don't know.
But the fact that they're allowing a man of credibility, a man who has a security clearance, a man who worked for the government, to be out there and be like, it happened. Roswell happened. We have craft. And then in the next sentence, he has to say things like, but I am not legally allowed to talk about other crash retrievals.
Yeah.
He says that is the line he unfortunately can't cross. Is so that presumably to me, reading between the lines here, he knows about other retrievals.
Yeah,
but he's not allowed to talk about them.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I believe he might be telling the truth about Roswell, or at least how Puthoff might be telling the truth to Lou, who's relaying it to us, the reader. But that's like when you as someone who's been into ufology for a long time. it's to say it out loud to the government. Lou, as a spokesperson for the government, has acknowledged Roswell exists, acknowledges that there's craft that were not made by human hands, and that they have what the government might term biologics in their possession. So does that mean there was an alien like Skinny Bob style just chilling under like Area 51?
Well, I think it was several.
Yeah, Skinny Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skinny Bob. Yeah. Turtleneck alien. He has a turtleneck, Alan Deep.
Yeah, you gotta show Alan a photo of Skinny Bob because you gotta.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's cold under there.
Yeah, it's cold in space.
No, I mean under Roswell, where he's like where they kept him. I guess. chained
Oh,
up or
yeah,
whatever.
they gave him a little jumper.
Yeah. Good on him.
Yeah, but apparently there was more than one
Yeah, poor guys.
Biologic, they say, because they don't.
Complaint in the studio. We just tried to go live on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then once you hit let's go live on YouTube, it's like you can stream in 24 hours. I don't want to stream in 24 hours. I want to stream now.
Why
Go live now.
Why is there a delay?
Because despite having a channel for, at this point,
Oh, we're still not.
almost a year, maybe even more, and having how many videos uploaded, like 200 something,
Yeah.
we may start a
still-
crypto scam and then start telling people that we're Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And send me 200 cryptos and I'll send you 400 back or something.
Yeah. It's so we're still haven't
Doesn't
hit a
matter.
threshold where they take us seriously, and so
Yeah.
it's harder to.
We're trying on Twitch. It's a bit of a.
What about Discord? We should start a Discord
We do have Discord.
for Tuesday review. Not our personal, not our personal one.
No. Technically,
We can't-
It was for a government discussion, which this is in a way a government discussion.
Oh, but that was for a
Double
different show
dissolution.
that never really took off.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, we could just rename it, or we'd just start a new one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But look, I'm just gonna say, and it's all a bunch of BS. There's no aliens.
you're entitled to
Mr.
that.
Big brain skeptic over
Yeah,
here. I should say I'm a skeptic, but I like to keep an open
No,
mind.
it's always important to keep an
You
open
know,
mind
so for our silent audience, Rafal was hanging out with us before we went live.
before you realise what we were going to talk about.
Yeah,
He's like,
and
I'm
he
gonna
thinks we're all
go.
crazy. But I said to Rafal,
You said to Rafal, hey, Alan's not crazy. He
No.
doesn't believe in any of this.
well, no, what I said to, and this is what I would say to all listeners, and I think that most people like Lou would agree, is that you don't need to say the reptilians are stealing my babies. They're harvesting my loose, James.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out, Hillary Clinton is stealing my kids' adrenochrome while they sleep, if you know what I mean. But there are things in the skies, and the government allegedly doesn't know what they are.
That's the other thing.
only.
We talked about this. I think Callum and I talked about Ross Coulthard's book, and it's like the government has released like footage and things that's like where they've said we don't know what this is. So if they don't know what it is and are giving it to the public and saying we don't know what this is, what is it? Is it are they deeming it safe and so are going like, okay, you can see this, or
Well, do you remember the Orb of Mosul, by any chance?
not? No,
It's this famous video where
I've probably seen it, but I don't remember.
it's
the name.
over a warfield.
It was a sphere.
Yeah, it's over like a battlefield also. It's in the Middle East somewhere. Of Mosul, obviously, it's in the name.
Yeah.
And it's just like a drone of some sort or a camera is like watching, and it's like an aerial view.
Yeah.
And then a sphere, like this kind of large sphere, just merges on past. So like it's these things. This is what I talk about when I talk about UFOs or USOs or UAPs, whatever the nomenclature is of the moment. Is that the government is detecting things and they're finding things and they don't know what they are. So there's a few options, right? So you've got the easiest option is it's foreign drones. So it's a drone that's operated by Russia, China,
Yeah.
I guess North Korea, whatever. And somehow this country is in possession of technology which is unknown by the Five Eyes countries like, England, America, Canada, Australia, whatever.
Yeah.
Or it's a neutral party, so it could be an independent military force, again, for whatever reasons of their own, scoping out
A private.
a private contractor force, something like that. Now, that would mean, of course, that the most powerful country in the world, America, is completely defenseless in their airspace.
Against another human humans who have created technology that's so far advanced.
Yes, correct.
So if that is true, that's
terrifying.
That's
in its
even
own way.
scarier than the aliens.
Well, in a way, right? So it's like saying, let's just say, the foe of the moment, of course, is China in America.
Yep.
They're terrified of China because the Chinese economy is booming. It's no longer this big red scare because China now has a middle class. It now has its own roaring economy.
Disney is making concessions so they can sell movies.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, China's not like the enemy that it once was. It's now this behemoth of industry and its people are thriving. So it would be terrible news for America if China just has unrestricted access to their airspace. There's nothing America can do about it.
Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind is that one of the most famous encounters that Lou talked about was the Nimitz encounter, which has craft essentially teasing and toying with American Air Force pilots. Not only outpacing them, but knowing where their secret rally destination was and waiting for them there
before they
tauntingly.
got there. Yeah.
So it's like, let's just say it is China. Well, if we were to enter a third world war, all of us are toast.
Yeah.
China would... It's like... We're like ants.
Yeah.
Technologically speaking,
And-
we're like ants going up against...
A lot.
None of us would pass a fitness check.
Correct.
Yeah.
Maybe James.
He won't be tall enough to get into the machines.
Yeah.
But my point is, that's option number one.
Yeah.
Right? That's the easiest option to believe. Is that a country has cracked some gravity-defying, unknown physics that the rest of the world is not currently in possession of.
Yeah.
Option two is that it's what our internet brethren would call aliens.
Yeah.
Now, the definition of alien in this context is quite broad, right? It could be people
could be
who
somebody from across the border who doesn't have paperwork.
illegal aliens.
Yeah.
That's right.
They're getting transgender operations,
in prison.
apparently.
In
Yeah,
prison
in
too,
prison, yeah.
Yeah, Trump heard it on TV
Yeah,
or whatever.
They're eating the cats and the dogs.
No,
That's
those
it.
are the Haitians.
The Haitians.
Oh, the
yeah.
Haitians,
Yeah,
yeah.
he heard it on TV. So it's aliens, right? Now that could be people from Mars. It could be interdimensional. It could be undersea creatures. We don't know, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's just
Non-human.
non-human
beings.
intelligence is
Yeah,
actually the words.
NHI.
Yeah,
Could be the
NHI.
squids. They're pretty smart.
Yeah, octopus.
octopus.
Octopus
There
is
are actually
aliens.
there are actually
Octopi.
high strange encounters with large squids
Giant squids.
under the sea. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've read a few. They're really interesting.
Maybe
where
they're
there's
playing
like
something. And the dolphins.
Dolphins,
they're
yeah.
also something.
they're pests. No, but the squids that's a whole other issue
Yeah.
because the squids have been like there's been like Russian divers have had like telepathic experiences with giant krakens under the sea and stuff. It's
I
like
haven't
really
heard about
weird.
that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's really weird and it was
Yeah.
like, but I don't believe any of that. It's crazy Russian stories.
It's
I'm
fun
sorry.
to read about.
Yeah, fun to read about. It's
Yeah.
like pulp sci-fi.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, NHI. So like the other theory and the theory that is held by like Lou Elizondo and David Grush and people like him
Yeah.
is that these craft are not created by human hands. They're not owned by a country local to Earth
Yeah.
or to our version of Earth,
Yeah.
right? So it could be from a civilization,
Alternate dimension.
like what they would call a shadow
Interdimension.
biome. So a place that is not easily seen to us, not
Yeah.
easily discerned or
it's
measurable.
on a different plane of.
Yeah, like that could be literal. Like if we get
Reality.
into things like astral realm and all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. But it could
spirit
also,
realm.
exactly, the spirit realm.
Yeah.
Famous author Whitley Strieber says that they're directly connected to the afterlife somehow. But if you read between the lines, Lou Elizondo and David Grush seem to put a lot of stock in the underwater aspect of it.
Yeah.
So they believe, like, I'm not going to put any words in their mouth, but
Under
again,
the sea.
yeah, I
Under
believe
the
if you
sea.
read between the lines, a lot of the most damning reports of UAPs have to do with the water, the undersea aspect.
Well, like I was saying earlier, is like we haven't explored most of the ocean. There
Yeah.
are parts that are so far down, deep and dark that it's basically like outer space.
Yeah.
We don't know what's down there. And we were talking before we went on air about the transmedium craft. That
Yeah.
a lot of the UFOs that we have footage of actually go from the air into the water and then come back out into the air. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of theories that there's something to do with the ocean.
Well, famous remote viewer Ingo Swann claims to have been abducted into a black program and he was escorted by a secret agent into like the Alaskan wilderness or something, and he claims to have seen a craft like suck up large bodies of water for some reason.
That's cool.
And then it like killed a deer and then left. No, but like the agent said to him, like, don't move because like we won't live.
Yeah.
So it was like this weird situation.
Mm.
But he had a crazy life anyway. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But what I find fascinating is Elizondo he went on Joe Rogan again after the publishing of his book.
Mm.
And he talked about a video he claims to have seen about a USO, a submerged, unidentified submerged object, the size of a city block.
Yeah.
Right? Like going past an oil rig.
Mm.
And it was one of those things where people saw it.
Mm.
You couldn't miss it. It was the size of a city block. It was a massive craft, like a mothership under the sea.
Yeah.
So like that's why I think that it's as likely to be something to do with an underwater. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm a crazy person when I say it's all real, but if it's being reported, it's being recorded on radar. It's being seen by civilian airline pilots. It's being seen by lots of credible military pilots. It's even seen on broadcast news. Do you remember when Donald Trump nearly got assassinated?
Yeah.
In the background of that, like there's clips on you can see from the
News
on
footage.
YouTube on the news footage and stuff. In the background, you see spheres going past.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that where like someone will like upload a picture to upload a video to Reddit of like just like some random broadcast, and there'll just be spheres.
I mean, now, you know, back in the day it was harder, but it was possible to doctor images and film. Now it's much easier, and with digital technology, and now with AI. So the further we get, it's like the more video evidence we get, almost the less believable it is, because it's like, well, you can just fake that.
Yeah.
So we're in it's
hard.
Yeah.
But my point
I miss the good old days when somebody's like, "Oh, I saw a demon dog, and it was spitting expletives at me, and I waved my cross at it, and it ran away." And everyone's like, "I believe you," and somebody else like, "I saw the same dog."
Or that
I saw the same dog.
Yeah.
no, that's,
Or it's like
you look at the older day story. There's a lot of that.
Yeah. That lady's a witch. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Let's burn her.
sounds right to me. Let's throw her in the river.
Well, my favorite one is when they like arrest a goat.
That still happens today. If you go to some countries like
places.
Uganda, where it was, I think, a bank robber who witched himself into a goat.
Yeah.
And so they took the goat to jail. And they're like, he's going to transform back. That became a nice goat curry someday, I think.
Just letting all our live listeners know, we are live on Twitch at the moment.
Oh, nice.
With full webcam support.
Oh.
Live. So join us if you're listening over the
We've
radio.
got the lights off because it's Tuesday
after
review.
dark.
Tuesday review nights.
That's it.
Classic Chris.
Join us on Twitch at Tuesday Review AU.
Yeah.
A special live broadcast.
So, obviously, you guys have been rattling on for too long.
Oh, I just want to finish up my point. I'm so sorry, I just want to point out that the main thing to take away from like this first big reveal is that the government seems to believe whatever they are, there is craft that they don't understand how it's made and they don't have any control over. Whether it's aliens or if it's China, what have you. Apparently, it's real. So the idea is they don't want anybody to feel like a lunatic for saying there are craft that we don't understand in the sky.
Yeah, and they have radar reports and eyewitness reports from reliable sources that, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like they're not saying they're saying we don't know what this is, but there is something. So whether that's aliens or it's foreign human technology, or there's a third thing that we didn't talk about, is that it's just like some sort of natural phenomena.
Yeah, the Carl Jung thing where he talks about how UFOs are just. So Carl Jung was a strange guy in the sense that he's a distinguished eminent psychoanalyst, I believe.
Yeah.
A man of science, but he's also labeled as a kind of a modern mystic as well, because he believed that the mind was capable of very interesting things and very profound things that we don't actually know how to articulate. He had this whole thing about archetypes and the unconscious and the collective unconscious, and it was almost shamanistic in the way he approached psychology. But he believed that UFOs could be physically seen by people, but they come from us.
Hmm.
He believes that they're a type of what might be referred to by an occultist as an egregore, an emanation.
Some sort of
like a-
mental projection.
Yeah, a mental projection of the human race.
Yeah, but because it's a shared consciousness, not just one person sees it. It's not just a hallucination for one person. It's like you're projecting that into physical space, and other people are seeing it as well.
Yeah.
And that's perhaps one of the reasons that it doesn't really follow any logical gravity rules. Also, like we were saying earlier, because, this could be, religion, aliens, angels, ghosts could be all part of the same phenomena. If it is tied to human consciousness, which we still don't know a lot about, and we still don't know where it comes from or where it goes, that could all be part of the same thing. Like there could be some sort of collective unconscious. There could be some sort of way we perceive things. I don't know. It's interesting to speculate and think about. Alan?
Well, my discussion, I guess, pushes more to the broader universal implications of, ALMAs and everything else, because you've heard of the Fermi paradox, correct?
Yeah.
Where, given the likelihood of there being Earth-like planets in the universe, and the likelihood of how many galaxies there are and that sort of thing, life should have probably arisen given the age of the universe multiple times.
Yeah.
And there should be sufficiently advanced civilizations around that we should see, if they don't exist anymore, at least the remnants of the kind of stuff they did. Whether it's terraformation of a planet, which would indicate maybe some from far away gases in the atmosphere that only arise from some kind of industrial process, or something far more extravagant like a Dyson sphere.
Yeah.
Where you basically surround an entire sun and are able to harness its energy for your entire, civilization's use.
Yeah.
And we don't see any of that at all from our observations of the universe.
Yeah.
Because some of these things would definitely show up, as anomalies in what we usually see.
But it's because the universe is so massive that there is it the Fermi paradox, or is there another one where we could just be missing each other because it's just so big?
Oh, it's also possible we're either the first or the last as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the bottleneck
So
theory?
the Great Barrier.
Great Barrier. There's
So
so many different
Yeah,
theories.
that's generally that. Like there is something.
Hi, Julian.
Julian's joined
Oh,
us.
Julian's nice.
What's going on, Julian? Basically, yeah, so that there's some kind of weird step that most civilizations struggle with and can't get past, or maybe it's somewhere further back in like the multicellular or unicellular time frame that you can't get past. So hopefully we've passed it. Hopefully it's not something coming up ahead where it's the great filter. Sorry, where it's probably nuclear war. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That most civilizations end up blowing themselves up.
I've also
before
read,
they get advanced enough to go.
I've also read
space.
that what's that thing where the there's bursts from the universe of radiation that destroy. Like
gamma ray bursts.
Yeah, I've also read that it's also possible that the great filter could be gamma ray bursts. That, at any time, Earth could be terrorized by gamma ray bursts.
I think
we'll all die.
We talked about this. It was a long time ago, either on one of our special UFO episodes, or maybe it was on our Nope review, where the universe is special boys, where Earth is in such a unique pocket of the galaxy.
So we're in a solar system that's protected by a meteor, essentially belt around our immediate Milky Way kind of thing, right? Our immediate solar system is protected by a meteor belt, which is then protected by the Oort cloud. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then we're in like a nice, perfect little bubble. And then we're in like a magnetic tube, which protects us from other kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why we've
powerful
made it this far at all, is because...
we're the universe's special boys.
Yeah, any sort of debris or space
gets moved away.
Waves are getting diverted from...
It didn't save the dinosaurs, did it, James?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Any time
a big old rock can come by any time.
Yeah, but hopefully, like, Bruce Willis can drill a hole into it and blow it up.
Yeah, you don't need to be able to talk to do that.
Oh,
so,
sad.
But
too soon.
The second aspect to that is, And I blame Chixin Liu, if I'm mispronouncing that name, I most likely am. I apologize. Who wrote the novel?
See the author of
the Three Body Problems book series, in which they discuss the. Sorry, Julie just said aliens are real and it scares the pants off me.
Me too. No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
it is
that's-
scary.
Reasonable reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For what it's worth, Julian, if they are real, and like I said, it's they're in the skies. Don't know what they are, but they're there. And if they are real, they were real before we knew about them. They'll be real after we're gone.
Well,
they're not hassling me right now, so there's no point thinking
Well,
about them.
have we been hassling them, or have we been waving a flag, being like, "Hey, here we are"?
Well,
And that's where I'm getting to.
you know the
Dark Forest theory.
they only started appearing more often after we started doing bomb tests.
yeah.
So, with obviously the Dark Forest theory has been present long before the book series, but I think the popularity of the book series popularized among more pop culture, and the discussion that the universe is actually full of alien civilizations, but they're all hiding themselves for good reason because they're not friendly and nobody else is friendly. And if we're out there sending out radio waves from the early 90s, and now sending out all sorts of other waves, and we've done the bomb tests.
Yeah.
So we've sent out all kinds of beacons.
We're all out here.
Being like, hey, what's going on?
Party on Earth.
Yeah, it seems a little daunting that
Which brings us back to that 2027 thing. Remember what that Ramirez officer was like, they're coming, we can't stop them, they're coming.
Well, so for me, if the ultimate truth is this is probably something extraterrestrial that no other government is making these craft, shouldn't the focus be on getting every single person to report what they see, trying to get as best quality video footage
That's the thing.
and
Yeah.
evidence, and then seeing what we can do about it?
That's what ATIP was supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
What the program that Elizondo worked for. But the problem was when he tried to take it to the next level, when he tried to actually access the programs that were involved directly, he was shot down because he got to that stage where suddenly you have to talk to people who think it's demons, or you have to try and get money out of a machine which doesn't want to give you that money because it seems like you're a lunatic or what have you. So he got to that edge of being able to figure it all out, and then it got shut down.
Yeah.
So this is another conversation where the problem is, how do you reconcile the fact that the governments want to keep it a secret for multiple reasons, right? This is kind of why do they want to keep it secret? And it comes into the kind of conversation where it now becomes, what are their reasoning? So there's a few, right? There's the economic reasons where the two Roswell crafts, they had Roswell crafts and they crashed.
Yeah.
One got away, one didn't. That's fine. But then those crafts get sold over to Boeing, Raytheon, all of those kinds of companies, right? And then the question is, if the government can admit that they have the craft and they gave it to a private company who's now benefited to billions, if not trillions
Reverse
of dollars in
engineering it
market
for their
value
own-
through reverse engineering,
Yeah.
then it becomes a separate issue of, it's like, now how are the companies that failed or went under during that time due to unfair benefit on behalf of the competition?
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to make that right? How is the economy going to handle that? When essentially now you've got like a handful of companies that have such an unfair advantage in the market.
Or even if the government themselves has the technology, they're not they obviously don't want to let our foreign enemies know that we're working on that technology, but they're keeping it secret from the people that elect them and pay their taxes and whatever. So it's kind of like, do we have a right to know? Because a lot of the time, anytime something comes up, it's just, national security, can't talk about it.
Yeah. So it's those, there's a few reasons they could keep it a secret. None of them are particularly good in the overall, I guess, benefit to risk analysis. The only one I can sort of see eye to eye is like, well, we don't want the aliens to know that we know.
That's another thing.
That's the Tom DeLonge theory. Yeah.
That's the scariest one too.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes like, if they find out we know,
It
are
might
they gonna-
escalate their plans.
Yeah, it might
Accelerate
accelerate their plans, and if we're not ready for them. Like realistically, they could, if they were hostile, they could invade anytime they want. But it's one of those issues where if we're reverse engineering their craft and they find out, then we're in
they're like,
trouble.
Can I?
Yeah.
Can I
Well,
throw 'em up?
sorry, I'll just quickly to sort of make it clear. It's like a lot of the sightings are around nuclear installations, battleships, military compounds.
Reconnaissance.
Yeah, so a lot of these crafts or whatever are being seen keeping an eye on our military and our weapons capabilities. So it could just be aliens checking us out and being like, are these guys going to blow themselves up? Are these guys going to blow us up? They could be just checking out our defenses for an invasion. They could just be curious because they don't have weapons on their planet. I don't know.
I hope it's the zoo theory. Only because I like the idea that we're like a garden planet.
And like a nature reserve.
Yeah. Like if we are the Milky Way special boys, and they're like the Milky Way's like attendants, and they're like, got to make sure the humans, the silly humans, aren't blowing themselves up.
Yeah.
You know, they chip us, whatever. You know, same deal.
Well,
like,
there's the whole
James needs a checkup. All right, got to put a chip on him.
There's the whole like Prometheus thing. Is like, did they create life on Earth, and are they keeping an eye on us, and are they aiding us in our development?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, though, including Lou Elizondo, are saying that like if they are keeping an eye on our military capabilities, and if a lot of the contact with alien stories are to be believed, they're a hostile force.
Well, Elizondo, he frequently brings up this point to illustrate why he takes it as seriously as he does. Is because he says that the reason that we shouldn't think they're friendly is because when you abduct someone,
you're kidnapping someone against their will.
That's a crime.
Yeah.
When you touch them without your permission, that's assault. And he says that when you look at it in that way, it does become an uncomfortable thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Because a lot of UFO people who have had experiences with UFOs, I should say, do claim to have not had a good time, to put it mildly.
There's also the hitchhiker theory
Effects,
where, if you have an experience, a lot of the times just bad things keep happening to you, and things seem to follow you around, beings. So unfortunately, they might be bad. And
so for what it's worth, and this is a little more out there, I guess. I actually think so. I follow a guy called Patrick Jackson who wrote a novel about this stuff, and he was I think he's like a computer /IT expert. And one day he was walking into town to go to the pub or whatever, and he saw an apparition. And so he goes into the tavern and he was like, "Who was that guy?" or whatever. And the guys in there said, "Oh, don't worry about him. That's just the monk." And it was an apparition that just like appears sometimes. And he thought, that's not like I said before, his mentality is the same as mine, in that there is no such thing as the supernatural. It cannot, anything that exists and is perceived in the world has a root cause.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm going to figure it out. He's like, his power is logic. And so his ultimate conclusion was that he focused on hauntings in England. But it was extended to UFOs and that type of thing. He thinks it's all the same thing, and they're little spheres.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting is that he claims that there's like multiple forces, and the spheres seem to actually be on our side, as opposed to the sources, which might not be. Because he says that even there's like, he claims, and I apologize to anyone who reads Patrick Jackson as I butcher his work, that at the hauntings, they're a certain distance from each other. They can be plotted on a map. But he said that like there must be some type of radiation or some reason to keep us away from these sites, because all they seem to do there, or these haunted locations, is try to scare people away. But they're just spheres. He caught them on camera. Like there's like a ghostly shadow, and then when you adjust the levels, you can clearly see the solid sphere where the neck would be. And it emanates this darkness out, as if to spook an animal away. You know what I mean? Because we're just animals to these things.
Yeah.
So there's this idea that they're kind of on our side. Even when they hurt us with like scratches in some of these reports, it's not terrible. We're not terribly injured by them. It's more of a like a scaring us away attack. And so he claims that it's like his, again, apologies, but the idea is that there's the hustlers, which are there to like the UFO, like the cow mutilations. You know what I mean? They're the hustlers. They come and they take rustlers. Sorry, not hustlers. Yeah. Rustlers.
Yeah.
They come and they take. They want our DNA. They want the cows, whatever it is that they're trying to harvest. Whereas the spheres seem to be on our side. They want to defend us. They want to defend the boundaries of our planet.
I think we talked about that one time where there's different alien species and some of them are on our side, other ones are trying to, and they're like fighting.
Jackson doesn't name many like specific species or whatever, but he said that the spheres seem to be a product of the planet. The sources do not seem to be that way. And he even maps out, like he even says the sources fly in a V formation because they taught. And he claims to have know this stuff, but he claims to know the frequencies at which these orbs communicate, and he believes they're artificial intelligence. And they fly in specific formations, and they communicate in certain ways, and they even come from, like there's like angles they fly in and this type of thing. And it's very interesting. But these are the Mosel sphere I talked about before. It's like all the spheres seem to be connected to like the one...
It's Planetary Defense Network, mate.
Yeah, Planetary Defense Network of sorts. And I find that so interesting. Do you remember the Ross Coulthart documentary he made where there was the big sphere?
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. Like they don't understand
it's like a big mysterious metal sphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also the theory that the aliens or the creatures or whatever they are, the beings or the phenomena, are just us in the future. Coming back and with advanced technology and like looking at their origins, or alternatively, they're so far advanced, these interdimensional or extraterrestrial beings, that they don't really even perceive us. Like they're just kind of fluttering around and trying to figure out what we are, because we're so microscopically dumb and simple to them that
we're monkeys.
Yeah. So that's also, it's just interesting to see, like, we're giving them personalities of like, oh, they're watching our nuclear capabilities, or they're they're mutilating our cows. Could just be a bunch of space kids with a magnifying glass, and we're a bunch of ants.
They're just space jerks,
and
James.
Yeah, and they don't even... But they might not even realize we're here. Like, they might not even...
Well, do you remember... it's like when we talk about science, how scientists experiment on mice and things like that. It's not very good to the mice. The scientists would argue it's for a greater cause. Some of the work they do to cure diseases or this type of thing. It's a similar thing with us. If we're space mice... hypothetically, and this is in regards to Alan, who's just rejoined us, in regards to why certain alien intelligences, if they exist, seem to take negative actions on us. So like abductions, mutilations, that type of thing.
Funny you should mention that. As you know, your boy loves audiobooks. And again, on the sci-fi train, the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey, which is actually two guys writing the books. That's their title combination.
Oh, they combine it.
Yeah, their new book series, Mercy of Gods. I believe it springs from the original series, but it's far in the future. And
so it's connected to the Expanse universe?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not... They don't outwardly come out and say it. I think they leave clues in there.
Okay.
But basically, an alien civilization comes to this planet, which is not Earth, but it's inhabited by humans. And they kill, I think, 1/8 of the population immediately, just to show them that they can do whatever they like. And then they take a portion of the population to their base world. And there's the whole, as you mentioned, it's the whole idea of like, they don't see emotion, they don't see what we kind of experience. They're just like, are you useful? If you're useful, you're alive. If you're not useful, you're dead. And that may be a situation where they're figuring out, can we provide some kind of use to the greater...
In this instance, like the human mutilations and things like that, if you read the literature such as it is, there's a lot of injections, there's egg harvesting, there's, you know, all kinds of horrible things are done to people, probes famously. It could possibly be something to do with diseases for a species unrelated to humans that have something to do with us that we can help with, or vice versa. Maybe they're trying to fix problems with us or give us problems. I don't know.
Yeah, there's also a theory that they don't have a quote unquote soul, so they're interested in us as to be like, well, you know, or their consciousness is different from ours.
They want to understand.
So they want to understand us. They want to understand our emotions. Maybe they don't have that. Especially if, you know, there are some theories that, you know, the grey aliens that you see in movies and stuff with the big black eyes and the big heads and the skinny bodies. It's like there's theories that those are like
worker drones.
Worker drones that they're made or born, created by another race, and that they don't procreate naturally. They don't have families or whatever. They're just sort of created. They're like worker drones, and so they're just keeping an eye on us and trying to learn from us.
Yeah, and like I love one of the reasons I love Patrick Jackson's theory of AI so much is that it's hard sci-fi on one hand, but it's also incredibly low sci-fi on the other, because it's like not an alien presence as such, because they're gone. It's an AI system that's operating in a time. It probably hasn't operated theoretically in a long time, and then we develop nukes. Suddenly it's picking up stimulus it hasn't picked up in a long time, and suddenly it's having to investigate and get active again. And it's like, whoever invented it, they might be long gone. And it's this remnant of an existing civilization, or whoever created it is just going through the motions. But it's not something we can talk to. It's not something we can understand, because it's not a person. Yeah. It's like Nathan said, it's like a planetary defense network of sorts. But we can't interface with it. When you think about it that way, we'll never understand it.
I would also say, if you have watched the recent Jesse Michaels American Alchemy video where he talks to some scientist,
Rupert Sheldrake.
Yes, he goes on to discuss what is consciousness, and he is of the opinion that it has something. Basically, I'm dumbing it down, but it has something to do with the electromagnetic field. And it's like our brains interact with the electromagnetic field in a way that gives us consciousness as we know it. But that doesn't mean that consciousness isn't in other forms as well. So obviously we interact with the world through our senses, where we're conscious through our senses. But can consciousness exist in other forms? So like they say trees might have consciousness, fungus might have consciousness. There's interesting experiments they've done where, for instance, when you're crystallizing a chemical or catalyzing a chemical, there are experiments done where it takes up to 5 years to do it the first time, but then after that, it's a lot quicker. And so how does that interact or interface with consciousness and kind of like almost a cell memory? And so there's the same thing he said, like with a little bit of a tangent, but he said rats of the same species, the same variety, you teach one a skill, and they found empirically that skill is learned quicker by other mice, or that mice
in different locations.
Like if you have like other mice in different locations, and it's more effective in other mice that are related to that emission, like a mouse as kids or something. They learn those skills quicker than their parent, or after they learn that skill quicker than other members of that same species of rat. And so obviously I would say our definition of consciousness is somewhat limited, especially in terms of scope. And so he released a book called Is the Sun Conscious? And if consciousness has to do with an electromagnetic field, like that's the consciousness field essentially, and our brains just interact with that field, right? So if consciousness is essentially everywhere, even though they might not be aware as we are, like how does that display? Is the spheres and the orbs that protecting the planet
allegedly,
do they come from the planet? Is the planet conscious? Is it a construct of the planet itself?
Yeah, I know.
We don't know. The planet might be listening to the show right now.
Yeah, shout out.
Hello, Earth.
Hello, Mum.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Well-
sorry.
Oh yeah, we don't know its real name.
Yeah.
What are you called, Earth?
Yeah.
Talking to the ground right
That's
now.
it. But so there's many different conversations like that you can have. Like this gentleman thinks the sun is potentially conscious. The sun looks after our whole solar system through its magnetic field, which also protect us from different varieties of dangers in space. What do you think, Alan?
Bunch of baloney.
No, it's because we're dealing with things that there's not a lot of empirical evidence on. Unfortunately, again, you have to reach into the annals of sci-fi to kind of come up with theories because, maybe some of these people are writing from, some secret information. Maybe they're not. But maybe some of these things they imagine are just, what
Was
the reality is.
like we were talking before, is like until you discover it, of course it's science. Science fiction is science fiction until someone figures it out,
Yeah.
and then it becomes science fact.
Especially nowadays, especially when we're talking about consciousness, and like this scientist was saying, we have good theories, but they still don't know how vision works. Like they know the mechanics of the eye, and we still don't know all the systems about how it all works. And consciousness is still just really a mystery. They know how to turn it off, but they don't know why it works, how it works at every level. Like they have a feeling nowadays. It's what's the most recent thing? There's some quantum entanglement in the brain. Especially when you're dealing with things like quantum entanglement, where it doesn't matter over distance. Like, well, where does that come from? If part of my brain is quantum entangled, where's the other part of it? Like, is it all in the brain? Does that mean there are many? Is it quantum entangled with just one other part of it? Is it many?
The other quantum entangled part is in a, cloud system somewhere a couple of hundred light years away, a couple of 100 billion light years away, I should say. Where we're all actually streaming from. Because it's all simulation.
Oh,
That's it. We are in the simulation.
I should say before
we tricked you. This is the Red Pill podcast.
The other big thing that Elizondo
Stay tuned
claims,
for After Midnight becomes a Sigma podcast. We teach you how to be a Sigma male.
the other big thing Elizondo talks about in the book is apparently they cracked how the craft work. And his understanding is that it's something to do with gravity and there's something to do with frequency, and if you operate a certain frequency on the craft, it envelops the craft in a bubble of sorts.
Oh yeah.
And then what the craft is able to do is once it's in this bubble, it's outside of gravity works differently in the bubble. So you can very slightly compress space-time, and that shortens the distance between 2 points. So if you look at the craft from our perspective of unmolested space-time, right, it looks like it's behaving bizarrely.
Yeah.
So there's the famous stories of UFOs looks like they're skipping across the sky, for example, or going faster than physics would allow. From our perspective, that's true. From the perspective of inside the bubble where the craft is, space-time's being crumpled a bit. So the space between 2 points is smaller, so it has less to travel. So even though it still goes quickly, it's going quicker closer between 2 points. But from our perspective, where we can't see the space-times being tampered with, it seems to be defying the laws of physics. That's apparently what he found out. So that's I think Alan was even aware of it from the books he's been reading.
Yeah, that's interesting because, it's like how do these things break reality? How do they go against what we know about physics and gravity and?
So,
We don't know what we don't know about physics.
Yeah,
Because,
and like, how did they?
Refer back to the American Alchemy YouTube channel. There's a good one where he talks about a lot of the science that sort of got shifted in the 50s and 60s.
Oh yeah.
About like we had all this scientists and science as a whole was working on a certain type of physics in math, right?
Yeah, anti-gravity.
Well, no, just all about the kind of physics that was able to be weaponized. And then there was a meeting, I forget the dates and times, but there was a meeting with all the scientists at the time, and then they turned around and says, nah, the new thing is
string theory,
which is abstract, and it doesn't have any real value to society as a material whole, right? The theory is that research continued in secret, but because it's so dangerous and it's able to be weaponized, you know, obviously bigger bombs, more dangerous bombs, it's now just researched in secret by the military. So the progress in physics never really stopped. It's just not allowed to be discussed.
Yeah, there's like a
out
secret
of-
physics.
Yeah.
It's not allowed to be discussed out of like, you know, deep.
Yeah, there's like
classified-
the anecdotes are like, let's just say you're a really great student in physics at uni or math at uni. Like, the government will approach you and say, do you want to see the real science? Like, this is the fake science that we, you know, that the nerds, we distract the nerds with.
Yeah.
Come work with us and we'll show you the real science. I've lost what I was going to say now.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Sorry, Nathan, continue.
No, you continue. I think I was just going to continue with what that essentially that story is, where now we have all the kind of the real science, but with no practical benefits.
Yeah.
In terms of physics and
yeah.
the hard sciences.
Obligatory. One of the reasons I believe there might be something to UFOs rant about the guy called Chris Bledsoe, who had an apparition encounter with some holy lady, like a lady that emanated a holy kind of aura, and then the man had Crohn's, and then after that encounter, the man's Crohn's was gone. Which my understanding of Crohn's is that it's not. No.
I was thinking that we got to get Julie to meet this lady.
Yeah.
Well, the government took it very seriously, and they were like scoping out his house. There were people wanting meetings with him.
Scoping out his colon to make sure, you know.
No, but I want you to think about that. If true, and apparently it is medically true, that he had debilitating Crohn's, he had this experience, and it just went away. That is not something that normally happens to a human being.
Not.
Healing is also not unheard of. Like Tom DeLonge says, there's that story, and you can look up the medical journals for this too, where they gave rats had cancer, and they used some kind of, I guess, what is it, like focused thought kind of
Like
lay on
woo,
hands,
new age stuff.
new age kind of healing, and it was a very specific process which he didn't get into, but they healed these rats of cancer, and the science, like they did it in a controlled test, everything was right, and they said, and you can replicate this, and they did it. They replicated it again and again, and they released papers on it, like this is how you do it. But obviously, it doesn't fit into the narrative of your very hard materialistic science kind of viewpoint. And scientists were just like, "Congratulations, you did it. I'm never talking about this again."
Yeah, he says when he I can't remember the guy's name. But I heard from some, like I watched a video about someone talking about this, and they said that he did a lecture, and he goes, "You don't have to believe me, but if you follow like the instructions, it will work." And it's not it's one of those things where it's not allegedly not a matter of belief. It's just it's a thing that happens that we don't understand, but it does. We're watching that the video Nathan was talking about with Rupert Sheldrake. They talk a lot about science and how we don't actually understand a whole lot about science.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole UFO field, right? Like, we think we know a lot, but even I was like, what blew my mind was we don't actually understand how vision works, really. We pretend
Nathan
that we...
was talking about it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. But it's like, yeah, we pretend that we know. And like Sheldrake was saying, like the current model is that when our eyes absorb the photons or what have you, we build a 3-dimensional image of what we think the world should look like based on what the photons are telling us. It's never been proven. He said apparently it's not proven. We can't find where this mental construct is stored, how it's stored, how it's created. And it's just, if without evidence we say, okay, well, I guess that's it.
Yeah. And yeah, the way we perceive the universe is through our senses.
Yeah.
And so if we don't fully understand our senses, how do we know what we're
I should
seeing
say,
is...
Alam is the token man of science here, so
Well,
please.
no, even if we just could discuss the idea of our human level of vision is a tiny fragment of what, you know,
light
the
spectrum.
light spectrum is. Like, we're only seeing, again, barely anything, even if we are seeing everything. Like, if you actually look at the entire spectrum of light and which eventually becomes, you know, just radio waves, gamma waves, X-rays, those sorts of things that are actually out there in the universe, we're barely seeing anything. Even the cameras that, you know, we take photos of in the universe, they're making false colors because they're able to see X-rays, that sort of those sort of things, and then make them into false colors for us. But they're still not picking up everything. So there's just like, are we seeing what is the reality? Probably not. Are we seeing a form of reality? Yeah, probably.
But yeah,
a form of reality that works for us. Like I see a table, I touch a table. I can eat a table.
That's the thing. I guess we were talking earlier about how we perceive consciousness, or our consciousness perceives the world a certain way. But is there another consciousness out there that perceives the world a different way?
Well, that's exactly what the latest American Alchemy video kind of talks about. And it's really interesting. What was it called? The kind of cell memory. What was it called? I'll look it up. I'm blanking. But it's really interesting because he also he also goes to talk about how, and it's been proven in dogs, that they said there's a story or a research kind of thing where they had a dog that was afraid of a butcher's shop. Yeah. And that dog was afraid of this butcher shop. And then the dog had puppies. The puppies hadn't had no experience with these
eidetic memory.
Shops. Eidetic memory. But there was another thing he used. It was like, it started with M and it was like a form or a wave.
Oh, morphic?
Yeah, morphic of waves or something. And basically the puppies were afraid of the butcher shop. But they hadn't. That's weird.
Are you back?
Yeah. Oh, wait.
We're back. Okay. Apologies, listeners on Twitch. Hi, we have 4 people on Twitch. Say hello in the chat if you can.
Oh, cool. Shout out to them.
Alan, can you put in the chat hello?
Yeah.
Alan's on the laptop now.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, we're back. We had some technical difficulties there. Yeah. So, like, we have no idea what's going on really.
Yeah.
And this Shankford guy, or whatever his name is,
Sheldrake.
He upsets a lot of other scientists.
You were talking about the genetic memory.
Yeah.
thing.
So what ends up happening is the puppies, they're also afraid of these experiences that the parent animals had.
Yeah.
But they have no reason to be afraid because it wasn't a learned behavior. So I'm like, how do you explain that without some sort of genetic memory? And that kind of leads to another conversation about what is consciousness in terms of its role in time and space. Like, does your consciousness and your experiences, do they pass down? And it's the same thing, it's in the same conversation as when someone gets an organ transplant and they take over some quirks or personality types as their donor. It's like, is it cell memory?
Alan, you're the medical man.
Well, again, quick disclaimer on this. I can't confirm it. Also, it is a heavy topic. There was a story of a person who got a heart transplant from somebody who had taken their own life. And sometime after the heart transplant, this person proceeded to once again take their life. Obviously, there's a lot more to what would have gone down in this person's psyche leading to this. But like the whole idea that you mentioned that, previously this heart had belonged to somebody who, was suffering these sorts of things, and ended their life in that way. And now that even though the heart continued in a new person, it, kind of led them down this track, which again, full disclaimer, this is not confirmed and there's a lot more to it.
Well, Sheldrake, and I don't think he's an expert in this specifically, but he's like a Harvard-educated man or whatever.
Also, hello to Christian, who's watching us
Hi,
live on
Christian.
Twitch.
Occasionally, he dips in and out, I think, by the looks of things.
Yeah, commit, Christian.
Commit and say hi in the chat.
No, Christian, we will not eat a dick, mate.
Sheldrake goes on to talk about things like people after transplants, people being able to suddenly learn how to play piano really well, speak other languages really well. He's like a whole list of things that he's aware of. Again, not something that he provides proof for.
Well, that's, people...
But it's also in the
not
common zeitgeist. This has been known to
Yeah,
happen.
there's a thing of like people who get brain damage and then all of a sudden they can speak languages that they never could before.
And it's like, how do you talk about this in a way where it's not woo-woo, or it's like, how do you, as a serious scientist, broach these conversations? And essentially, what's happened with this guy on the American Alchemy is you don't you sacrifice your career to talk about it.
That's the thing is you know, where we talk about it and we try to be like level-headed and whatever, but at a certain point you just have to be like, well, screw if people don't.
I mean, yes, it's uncomfy with our current understanding of science and physics and how life works, right? But these are things that have or do happen. You know, as Alan said, someone gets a heart transplant from someone who committed suicide and then they commit suicide again later on.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's one incident, but it's one of thousands. And it's like, it's statistically improbable that it's like all these things are chance, that someone develops a new skill, a new personality, a new mood, a new sort of disorder or whatever it might be after having a transplant. And it's the same thing with experiences. Like, you know, people inherit skills from their kids. They don't need to be taught. It's just how they are, right? And it's like how much of that is inherited through just, you know, genes or expressions of genes in the brain, and how much of it is just like, you know, collective unconscious inheritance.
Yeah. Well, even on the topic of, I guess, your genetics and genes, we still don't have a full understanding of, you know, how much all these, like, I understand that, hey, this gene literally becomes this protein in your body. But that doesn't explain necessarily why you are the way you are. Like, genetically speaking, we're 99% similar to chimpanzees, I think, and 97% similar to gorillas. But there is a universal difference between us and those animals. Obviously, there's more smaller factors going on in those genes that are causing the differences that exist. And some of those they've found over time, we call epigenetics, where certain parts of your DNA gets a little modification called like methylation, that sort of thing. And that can occur in your DNA and then pass on further to your offspring, that sort of thing. And considering that nearly all your cells in your body have DNA, have a basically full copy of how to make you, more or less, except for maybe blood cells and that sort of thing. But on average, most cells in your body have the full genetic makeup of you. So if all those are being affected in this one way, that being passed on, you know, in a empirical way, I think that there is certainly that possibility. At least in a way we can't establish with our current knowledge. So I definitely agree with that idea. But it's always difficult, again, like you said, to talk about these things that are, because they're not empirically known, it gets into that woo-woo territory.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it doesn't mean I'm saying there's, you know, some kind of spaghetti monster that's, you know, the real in charge of the situation. But there's a good deal we don't understand, and some of these explanations, the answers may not be how understanding the universe wants them to be.
We talked about on one of our previous episodes about how when you start talking about this stuff, it gets, unfortunately, like conspiracy theories have been co-opted by crazy right-wing nut jobs. And so you start talking about UFOs and people assume that all of a sudden you're going to go into an anti-vax rant or something.
All of a sudden, the UFOs are real, but you know what else is real? Hillary Clinton wearing a child's face.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's like, I think a lot of people, more credible people are coming out and talking about it, and the media is maybe starting a little bit to talk about it. So it's less taboo, but it's still something you have to be wary about of, like, can I bring this up with, you know, my workmates or whatever?
No, the answer's always no.
The answer's always no, yeah.
Because they're going to think you're insane.
Yeah.
Unless you like me and have like cool workmates, and it's fine. Because then they're into weirder shit than you. It's fine.
Yeah, so I could never bring that up at work.
Yeah, no.
Well, like I said, it's
Alan might.
I once discussed, and this was not started by me, the idea of how getting away with murder involves covering up the body with another body. Like, let's just say you bury a body and the body's buried like 6 feet deep. 3 feet above that body, you have like a dead animal.
Oh, yeah.
That sort of thing. I discussed that once, and I was known as like the murder guy. And even though somebody else was listening to a true crime podcast and like had previous knowledge about this,
and
I was simply augmenting the knowledge, It's difficult.
Also, you're always like looking for the hustle. Like, how can I? How can I?
This?
Yeah. Even if you don't never plan to rob a bank, you're always like, this is how you would do it. This is how I would do it.
It's always good to get into hypotheticals, you know? And obviously that people didn't appreciate that discussion, but I feel like it's gotten me a certain kind of respect at work.
Well, if we have a problem, we know who to go to.
That's it.
Like we were saying earlier, ultimately we need to destigmatize. It needs to be not us. It's not our job to do it.
Yeah.
But it needs to be destigmatized because let's just say I think these things are real. I don't know what they are, but I think they're here.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, well, they're here. I want to understand them.
Yeah.
We don't, and I think that's what's so frustrating for people like Elizondo and David Grush is they want to ultimately understand them too, but they can't because the minute they knock on certain doors. So another big thing happened recently in the ufology sphere. Eric Davis, another American insider, accidentally confirmed that a famous memo he wrote from Admiral Wilson to him was authentic. In a closed Facebook group, he acknowledged the existence of this memo and claimed that it was Wilson's unethical kids or something that like leaked the memo. So it's like if true, and there's no reason he'd be lying about this memo that he says shouldn't have been handed around is real. If it is true, that means that an American admiral found a program that had these allegedly crashed craft that totally don't exist and was told to never come back. So my point is that we need to destigmatize it because there are apparently things here. I'm sure Australia's got at least one. I'm sure America has several. I'm sure China and Russia have some.
Pine Gap.
Also, we should say one of the problems is because it's such an America-centric thing, like the government there, there's hearings, Congress hearings there about it. All the UFO sightings seem to be from America. This is actually a worldwide phenomena, and it's just not really talked about a lot.
Well, one of the reasons they say that like some of the spooks like Elizondo and Grush might be trying to get publicity out is because there's a fear in the American government that the American programs were put on ice because they couldn't figure it out and they were wasting thousands and thousands of American dollars just banging their heads on the wall because they couldn't even get into the craft.
Billions probably.
Yeah. Apparently they're worried some people in the government are apparently worried that China's cracked the code.
And the Russia did it with a pencil.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they're worried that what are we going to do if China's figured it out and suddenly China knows how to get into the craft or how to operate them, what have you. So America's like, well, now we've got to spill the beans.
Just saying, they should have been asking India for help.
Oh, the Sanskrit?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a whole thing.
Allegedly, the first craft crash had Sanskrit inscriptions written
inscribed,
around the base.
And they got Oppenheimer to come and check it out because he could read it.
And they allegedly...
That wasn't in the movie Nolan.
No. But they got Oppenheimer to come and help the effort because he knew Sanskrit.
Which is also one of the reasons it's so interesting is because the presidents don't have to get read into it because it's a part of the Atomic Energy Secrets Act or whatever. Because the Roswell thing happened while the military was still in their nuclear gear. They managed to get it all hustled into that section of the military.
Well, can you imagine if that wasn't the case? Like if the Dolan had gotten read into it, that it would have been all out already on Twitter.
I mean, we talked about this once on another episode. Let's just say, in this instance, aliens don't exist, UFOs don't exist, ghosts don't exist, none of that stuff. It's all just real. We do know there's black programs and like there's what do you call it, like compartmentalized
SAPs.
Yeah, and there's also
special access programs.
Yeah, and then there's private companies doing their own shenanigans, like super secret stuff. So that's scary as well. It's like, well, what are they doing? And they don't answer to anyone, and they don't know.
There's probably hundreds of billions of dollars missing.
Yeah, and there are probably some super secret, deep, dark, beyond top secret, UFO thing in the government that no one else in the government knows about, even the president, because they've always just operated out of anyone's purview. Like they're not being overseen because it's like, well, we can't. I reckon they don't tell the president nothing. Again, and I'm saying if UFOs don't exist, there are probably like super secret technological advancements that there's like, no, we're not telling the president about this. This is too...
Doesn't ever need to know.
Yeah, or there's some sort of, crazy spy ring that it's like, oh no, the government doesn't...
The word online is that the people who act for these programs consider the president to be just like a temporary man in office.
Yeah.
They don't trust elected officials because the elected officials are ultimately temporary.
Mm.
They don't want to trust a man who's only going to be in office, or man or woman, who's only going to be in office for 4 to 8 years.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, no, you're in it for life or you're not in it at all.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Also, when you get in any sort of company or in any sort of field of work, whether you work retail or you're a policeman or in a call center or you work in a warehouse, like there's a certain bureaucracy where at a certain point there's just people sort of doing their thing, and it's this uncaring, unthinking machine where people just get hired to do this thing that like no one really knows what they do, but it's like, oh, we've always had a guy who clicked this button. And so there are probably parts of these secret programs where it's like they don't really know what they're doing and no one's really overseeing it, but it's just like, oh yeah, we need a Section 4 supervisor to click this button on this computer at every day at 11:35 a.m. And they've just always done that and no one knows why. And it's just...
Imagine being like the office manager person for one of these deep program SAPs or which organization craft. It's like, you're there, your job is to organize the tea room. Yeah. And there's like a saucer just like over there. And you're just like, yeah, well, it's a job.
Yeah, but I think the movie Cube.
Yes.
There's a bit where they're like, because one of the great things about that movie is like it's never revealed what the hell it is or why they're there or who put them there. And there was a guy, one of the guys in there, he's like, I helped design this section of the cube or whatever. And he's kind of speculating. He's just like, there are so many probably different compartmentalized things that made each different thing. It's like none of them knew what it was for or why, why they were putting it together. And once they did have it together, it's like, well, they had to use it. And so it's just kind of like this awful, torturous machine kind of thing. But it's just like, it's just there because someone funded it, started funding it, and then someone started building it, and then they started putting it together, and they didn't really know what it was for or who.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of that probably going on in the government, where just, there's people who don't know.
I do feel like if I was the president and someone told me no, I'd be like, mate.
That's the thing.
Try again.
That's another reason why it's
I know you'd end up like JFK.
There's definitely something going on, because when the president or like these high up admirals go and say, hey, can you show me what you've got? And they say no. It's like, well, what are you hiding? If it's not aliens and all the crazy stuff, you're hiding something else.
If I was the head of the Pentagon, if I was the big old boss man of the army and someone told me no, I'd be like, I know where you are.
Well, do you remember?
I'm coming down with the army. You got to be careful.
Do you guys remember the last after the last Senate hearing in America? They wanted to get this legislation in, which said that any technology not created by human hands would become, by eminent domain, the product of the American government. And then one of the senators from where, I think it's wherever Lockheed is located, they demanded that language be taken out of legislation. And it's like, okay, so there's nothing there. There's no such thing as non-human intelligence technology, but we can't have that in the legislation. Why? Yeah. It's not real, so why can't it be in the legislation?
That's the ultimate cognitive dissonance. I would laugh at. Yeah. Because it's like, Alan, if I say to you, Alan, I want to take your $10,000 PC if you have one, mate, and you swear you don't have it, and then it's like, all right, well, the government comes to an audit. You can't do that.
Yeah,
I need my non-existent $10,000 PC.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Whatever
the case may be. I don't have one, but if I did, you can't have it, and you definitely can't look.
I think we said the similar thing at the start of the show. It's just like, well, I don't have that. It's like, well, why can't we check? No, you can't. It's like,
Because this is America.
yeah.
And I have a right to
Well, that's the other
privacy.
thing. Then there's privacy and freedom and all that stuff. But
No, but the whole thing is ridiculous because then theoretically,
Well,
you didn't create that technology. It doesn't belong to you. It was leased to you by the government originally, right?
Yeah.
Allegedly, it was originally leased to you. You don't own it. The
Yeah.
government
Well,
owns it.
that's-
Always has owned it. You've just hidden it away.
yeah, unless private companies have overtaken the government in
that's
terms
why-
of retrieving
yeah.
craft, and so that's like they have it already.
Well, that's what there's stories in the book, right, where the government has had literal firefights with private
Yeah,
company
blue on blue.
retrieval.
JSOC versus Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, allegedly, there were actual
we know-
firefights.
we know-
and Lockheed wins.
and we know Lockheed and Boeing are no stranger to keeping
Killing
secrets.
people, yeah.
Boeing, oh dear, Boeing whistleblowers have had a bad year this year.
So
That's
apparently,
why I only fly Airbus.
apparently the reason it's in private hands is because if it was all done by government SAPs, official government SAPs, there has to be more oversight. But if you
Well, that's the thing.
if
yeah.
you have a SAP, and I'm going to butcher this, but if you have a SAP that then leases it to another company and that company divests or whatever, there's like legal loopholes and trickeries you can do to make it so no one can investigate ever.
But that's what I'm saying is
We-
like it should be part of the government because the government answers to the people. But we know through experience and history that that's never the case. Like they're going to do their own thing. But if it's in private hands, that's even worse because it's like, well, they don't answer to anyone.
We say all that, like the legislation, though, with the legislation, it did get passed. And
Yeah.
currently, right now, there are efforts ongoing efforts, I should say, to collate and collect all the documents and information and files that all of these companies and contractors have for UAP UFOs, and they have to hand them over to the government.
Yeah, like the middle of October.
There's
I believe.
especially it's coming up. There is a specific date, and the work is happening. It doesn't say exactly when they have to hand it over, so
Yeah.
there could be some silly buggers that happen at the end of the
And
process.
the CIA is going to spit in someone's face, and that's all they're going to, and that's all that's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
It just get sealed for 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those things where it'll never leave the secret house committees. You know what I mean? No public
Yeah.
will never know, but elected temporary officials will have the knowledge, and then maybe one day we can hear some more deathbed confessions.
Yeah, I don't know. I always say this because to Callum, it's like the closer we get to potentially having disclosure and finding out the truth, the further away it seems.
It's
It's like
always,
the more information we get, the more it's just like,
yeah. So it's funny because on one hand, the day after Roswell, they just admitted it.
yeah, we talked about it.
So it's like we had like 100 years of disclosure in 24 hours after Roswell, and then after that, it was like no weather balloon, and then it was nothing, dead silence, and now we've had our ups again with all these whistleblowers and leaks, and then occasionally, and then we go down again, and it's like this roller coaster of like the battle of disclosure and anti-disclosure on full display. There's nothing we can do about it, and we were talking with Rafal before the show about Roswell. And I said, okay, so they've admitted it's real, but we still can't see a photo. If they were to show me a black and white Kodak photo or whatever of the craft in the Roswell hangar, that's not going to ruin any sources or what do they say? Sources or methods. You know what I mean? I just want to see a picture of the craft. Show me a picture of the body.
But like I said, it's like, how do
They're
we
not
know
gonna
those
do
are
it.
real?
They're not going to do it.
Yeah. Even if the government comes out and says these are real,
Let's just say hypothetically, and I understand this is a ridiculous thing to say, there is a craft they can't crack, right? Let me go on a tour. Let me see it. Let me touch it. You can't open it. What's the harm? Let me see the bodies. No, like think about it.
yeah.
You could have a museum. You could charge people to see them. Do you want to see a authentic, genuine alien corpse? Give me $20.
I don't know. Would you go to see an alien corpse? Would you see one?
It'd be difficult because, again, how do I verify the authenticity?
That's there, exactly.
I'd love to see a craft.
Yeah, but so how do you know it's real?
Yeah.
Even if the government said, here is a UFO, here is
screw
an
it.
alien.
Let's just make our own fake craft and set up in a shed somewhere in Outback, Australia, and start our own thing and see how quickly we get shut down.
True.
Yeah.
You know who we need to talk to? Spielberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Spielberg is balls deep in this.
Well, you've heard the legend, right? About the guy who wanted they wanted a guy to make a documentary about the Holloman Air Base landing, and he wanted to use the actual footage they captured for his film, and they said no, and he wouldn't budge on it, and so it fell through, and so they approached Spielberg. And they said, here's genuinely, we want to make something like this. And so Spielberg essentially retells the Holloman landing, except he fictionalized it and added in his own elements. So the legend, because it's not Spielberg hasn't come out and said it. The legend is that he did that movie for the government to kind of try and, there was a time where they were trying to use movies to push disclosure, to acclimatize people into it. But then they backed down a bit.
There's also, there's allegedly high quality videos of like crafts that are,
Well, Lou Elizondo has said himself the shit he has seen.
Yeah, like 4K video.
Yeah, that's apparently, congressmen or whatever have, and the military
Ross
have.
Coulthard also has probably seen some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
it's funny.
There's footage of one of his trips to like Washington, and he's talking to a congressman, and the dude's like, "Look, turn off the camera. I'll show you some stuff on my phone."
Yeah.
But to be fair, we on that Need to Know podcast that he did with Elizondo before the show. Ross says he's been talking to people that Lou doesn't know he's been talking to, who confirm everything Lou's saying. And so the idea is that Ross has more sources who are in the mud with Lou.
Well, there's a lot of things they're not allowed to talk about.
So it's just,
a lot of things.
I just want to know. I won't tell anyone, I swear. I'll tell James and Nathan and Alan, but they won't go further in the room. You know what I mean?
And maybe we'll tell, your mum, and then she'll maybe tell your dad, and then...
And Mum will just laugh and be like, "Stop it, boys."
And and then Dad will be like, "Don't be ridiculous."
And he'll
I think
listen,
what's
and then he'll
interesting-
forget 30
I think
seconds later.
what is interesting is that just as, up until a few years ago, pretty much no one was talking about this.
No.
I mean, there were a lot of people talking about it, but it was more taboo, more niche, more like woo-woo. Whereas not long ago, maybe less than a year ago, there was a news thing on TV.
Yeah.
And my mum, who's not interested in UFOs or ghosts or anything, who doesn't think about that at all, she said to me, "Have you heard about this alien stuff? Like they're saying
And
all
you were
this
like,
stuff."
"Oh, Mum."
I'm like, "Oh, Mum." But it's like if she is sort of, if they're talking about it more openly in the media, and if she is like starting to be like, hang on, maybe there is something going on,
starting to pick it up.
then maybe.
Well, Lou Elizondo was on CNN.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, it's like
It's crazy.
it's the stigma is still there, definitely, but
I still wouldn't go talking to people at work.
no,
about it.
but it's definitely more coming out a bit more mainstream. No, not really, but a little, slowly. And again, is that deliberate? Are they trying to get us ready? Or is this some part of some sort of disinformation so they can keep doing shifty stuff, and while we're off looking, is there aliens? And meanwhile they're, doing Iran-Contra Nicaraguan crazy drug smuggling stuff. Which, like I was saying with the black programs, is like even if there is no supernatural stuff or aliens, they are doing shifty stuff, and I want to know about that too.
Yeah.
Because that's just as scary when they can get away with literal murder, and we can't do anything about it. But there is something out there. We don't know what it is. We don't claim to have any answers, but it's interesting to
Just
speculate
philosophize about it.
And if it is true, it's the biggest thing in...
As Ross says, it's the biggest story in human history.
Yeah. We are not alone. It's crazy.
I reckon that's about all the time we got for tonight. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'll throw this up as a podcast in the next day or two.
We have to have, like, content warning. This is some crazy...
We'll just put for the poster.
Yeah, we're... Can you unmute
What's wrong?
Which one?
unmute the PC.
What am I doing?
Unmute the laptop. It's the red one. Yep. Now that's ruined everything. But it'll be good for the podcast because you can cut it. Like, we're definitely not saying that we're ending the show because the government's coming in. But you know, no.
Nice.
Just let me throw something on.
Well, yeah. Hopefully, this episode doesn't get lost.
No,
Mysteriously
I'll
lost.
upload it for the cover. We'll put like Lou Elizondo's book as the
Yeah, that'd be cool.
little like poster.
Yeah.
I guess thanks for listening, everyone. You can catch the Tuesday Review on all platforms at Tuesday Review AU. That's Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Newsmails, Blue Sky, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
Yeah.
Tuesday Review AU on all platforms. We're also on Letterboxd. I'm Nathan B_90.
I'm callum20.
I'm channeldrifter.
And I'm Callum Tuesday.
And this has been the Tuesday Review After Dark.
Stay curious.
Tuesday Review Nights.